Hey, what's up, everybody? Just give me one moment and we'll get started. I'm just sorting some wires. Okay, I think we're live. Sorry about that. We've been having at least some temporary technical difficulties with the live streaming software. So the chat may be going in and out tonight. I just want to forewarn everybody. Let me try to fix it actually one more time. Sorry about that. Let's see what we could do here. I guess we'll deal with it. Not too big of a deal. Anyway, welcome back everybody to Walks on Wall Street. Today is Friday. Oh my God, happy Friday to all. Usually I'm not a big, like weekend guy, like, oh my God, thank God it's the weekend. But tomorrow I do have off. I don't really have anything going on, so I'm probably going to sleep in a little bit and then just kind of hang out the rest of the day. Now, hopefully the weather's nice. This entire week in New York City was, picture perfect weather. It was a scorcher out all week, and even today. I think actually today was probably the hottest day, but right around 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock. No, actually like 4:30 to 5 o'clock. Wow, talk about a complete 180 in the weather. It started to rain, not too bad, but honestly, it's about 30 degrees cooler, or at least it feels like it, from what it was earlier today and this week. Now, we're watching a couple storms that are developing in the Atlantic. Hurricane Lee, I'm sure all of you are watching that. It's looking like it's not going to impact the state of Florida or really anywhere stateside. Thank God. Well, hopefully. But, the intensity of the storm is really historic and crazy. I believe it's already a Category 5 hurricane. And you really never know with these things, right? I was looking at some of the, what do they call them, the spaghetti models. And you really never know. So I think anybody on the East Coast sort of needs to be prepared for this. What we will be getting is a lot of big surf, which could be problematic for coastal cities. Because in my view, it's not necessarily the hurricane winds that are the issues, it's not the rains, it's really none of that. The major problem is the storm surge, so hopefully we don't get any of that as we move into next week. Alright, we have to cover a couple things here tonight on the live stream. Now, we do have some Apple news coming out of Tim Cook's company. I'm sure all of you have heard of it and even talked about it by now. Rumor has it, coming out of China, that all government employees, so if you work for the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party in China, they're not authorizing the utilization of iPhones or Apple products. Now, can we believe really anything that's coming out of China? I don't know. But the market really took a big hit. Let's just take a look at Apple over the last 2 days. Ticker symbol AAPL. Before the news broke, Apple was trading at about $189 a share. We corrected quite severely all the way down to $173, but the market kind of recovered pretty much today. But the concerning thing is that we closed at pretty much the dead low of the day today. So we'll talk about that. Another thing to look forward to as it relates to Apple is the brand new iPhone 15, 15 Pro, and the Pro Max. There has been some, and again, we really can't believe 100% a lot of the data that's coming out because these are leaks, and obviously leaks aren't coming directly from Apple, so we don't know. But it's looking like there's going to be price increases across the board for all of the iPhone models, particularly the higher up you go. And it's looking like a $200 to a $300 increase. I think that's pretty bold. We'll talk about what that means for the company, if this is a good move for the company, especially at a time where we're going into October. And what does October 1st mean? Well, for those of you who've been paying attention, and I actually haven't been paying attention, it's up to you guys actually sort of tip me off about this. I believe on October 1st, student loan payments will resume. So once the pandemic happened, we all know what pandemic that was, the big C. A lot of the student loans, or I should say all of them, went into forbearance. So interest was not accruing, you didn't have to make the payments, but that's all going to change and do a complete 180 come October 1st. So is this the right time for Apple to be raising prices here? I don't know. Raw materials have gone up, aluminum, titanium have skyrocketed, and it's rumored that is why the big price increase. I want to quickly touch on the China thing one more time. If we look at a percentage of revenue, okay, a percentage of revenue, China is Apple's third largest market. It makes up about 18% of total revenues. So if this escalates, right, in theory, if this escalates to the point where China says, well, guess what? We're going to ban all Apple products in China, which I don't think will happen, by the way. I think that's just totally ridiculous, because if that happens, China would be totally cratering their own economy, because the vast majority of these Apple products are manufactured in China. So, look, I don't want to be a fearmonger here. I think a lot of the articles I've been reading is a little bit fear-inducing. I just find it really hard to believe that Apple would, that China would ever in a million years ban Apple products outright in the country. They may, just say government employees are not allowed to use Apple products, and then they encourage Chinese citizens to use Chinese products, such as Huawei and the like. I don't know. We'll talk about it. I think it is important, right? Because Apple is the largest stock in the S&P 500. Let me pull something up 1 second. Watch out for a link to drop in the chat here, everybody. I think this is going to be really helpful for you. Just bear with me one moment. I'm not prepared tonight. It was a wild day for me, which I do apologize for. Okay, take a look in the chat. If you see my name highlighted, it'll be a sort of like a yellow bar around my name, Walks Wall Street. Go ahead, click that link. I promise it's not anything malicious. It's going to take you to a website called slickcharts.com. Okay, once again, slickcharts.com. And essentially this is a really helpful website to give you an inside scoop on the percentage weightings of companies that make up the S&P 500. So as we're talking about Apple, if you look at it, it's the number one company in the S&P by weighting. Now, the S&P 500 is a market capitalization weighted indice, so the larger the market cap of the company, the higher the weight it makes up in the index. So if we take a look at the sort of the infographic here, Apple makes up about 7% of the index. Think about that for a moment. One company, Apple, ticker symbol AAPL, makes up 7% of the entire index. So if this China situation really gets escalated, which I don't think it will, by the way, that's my opinion, everybody has their own opinion, that could be significant. Because if 18% of revenues vanish overnight, which is totally, it's almost impossible, it's highly unlikely, but anything's possible in this world, you could see significant declines in Apple, which would bring down the entire index. Okay, let me go ahead and close up the laptop here, everybody. You are looking at a beautiful view of the Empire State Building. We are reporting live right outside the brand new Moynihan train hall tonight. It is a gorgeous night in Manhattan, and the heat wave is finally over. Kind of feels like Fallout tonight. So I will close up the laptop and then say hello to everybody in the chat, and we will get started. I am kind of intrigued by the new iPhone, though, because supposedly there's going to be this, 10x zoom camera. I'm probably not going to buy it. I already have an iPhone 13 mini. Works great. I don't think I need anything else. All right, guys, let us get started here. And thank God it is Friday. Hopefully you all had a fantastic and successful week. I see Cars is here, Buy the Book. What's up? Brian says, what's up, Tom and team? Excuse me, Richard Vogel is here, welcome. Jay is joining us all the way from South Africa. Jay, thank you so much for joining the past couple of nights. I really appreciate it. It's really cool to have viewers all the way from South Africa, so we're really appreciative that you're here. We are looking over the Hudson Yards development right now. Again, this is the brand new Moynihan train hall. You can see some of the passengers exiting the train hall right now. You can get the Long Island Railroad and the Amtrak right here. I see Patricia Ivory, what's up? Two Wheel Freedom from Florida. Joseph Hardaway, what is going on? Brian Reed says, I don't know why people would stop paying on student loans unless they were unemployed. There is nothing free. It's a good it's a good comment there, Brian, for a couple of reasons. And we've talked about this before on the stream. And thankfully, right, thank God, I don't have any student loans. Some of my friends have astronomical amounts of student loans, and it's a really big burden. And I do have sympathy for that. So I don't want to come off as saying, haha, student loan payments are starting, you have to pay off your stuff now. I am sympathetic for it, for a multitude of reasons. But to Brian's point, he says, why would anybody have stopped paying their student loans when they even had the forbearance? Because if you think about it, the interest, I believe, the interest on those loans were also paused. So you had an opportunity to really attack that debt very, very aggressively, and all of your payments, I would assume, would just go directly to principal. I don't know. I mean, if I ever had a mortgage forbearance, right, where the bank told me, hey, Tom, we are going to pause your interest and your interest is not going to accrue, well, I would just throw everything I have in my mortgage, right? Because there'd be no interest. I don't know. It's a very sticky situation, and I think the size of some of the student loan balances out there could potentially impact the economy and consumer spending. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it may just be a one-off and things are just going to go back to normal? There's going to be no change in consumer spending at all? I don't know. This is the 34th Street Penn Station subway entrance. You can get the ACE, also the 1, 2, and 3 trains, but you have to connect via the bridge underneath. But this is an awesome shot of the Empire State Building and the very iconic Madison Square Garden. A-Scan says that's so true. It'll give people a chance to really cut into their student loan debt. And look, I would assume some people have taken advantage of that, right? But then again, to have an open mind here, some people during the pandemic, they lost their jobs, they fell on hard times, they fell on hardship, and this forbearance really did help them out. Now, I'm not going to get into the political jargon of whether I agree with it or not, but maybe some people didn't have the means to attack those balances even though there was the forbearance. I don't know. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, sort of explain both sides, but who knows? All right, we are now looking at the beautiful post office. So this was like a mini conversion into the Moynihan train hall as well, but the entire front of the building is still an operational post office, but obviously just not as, I would say, big and robust as it was once before. Jay says student loans are not a sticky situation. Some people just don't want to pay. It's a country of handouts. That's another, argument there as well. Look, I was sort of raised that if you take out a loan or if you borrow money from somebody, you pay them back, right? That's just sort of, I just think it's a moral and an ethical situation. Now, where I do think things got a little bit sticky, and I'll just, and again, feel free to voice your opinion in the chat. I mean, I am totally respectful of both sides of the argument, and I'd encourage that discussion. But here's something that I would say, because I'm not too far removed from college, right? I think I was the class of 2018. When I was in high school, there was no sort of talk or education around what it really means to take out a student loan. It was just, everybody's going to go to college. It doesn't matter how much it costs because you can take out a student loan. And they don't really explain the ramifications of taking out money at ridiculous interest rates when you don't have, a promise of a very lucrative paying job. And when you're 17 years old and you're a high school senior, well, you're stupid. You're a young kid. You're dumb. At least I was. I won't speak for anybody else. Now, thankfully, I don't have any student loans because I went to a very cheap, affordable city college in the CUNY system. But there's some people out there who I know where, they're the first in the family to go to college, and they've just listened to the advice of their teachers and the guidance counselors to say, hey, don't worry about it. Just apply to whatever college, just go, and if you don't have the money, well, there's no big deal because you'll get the money because you can get a loan. Reality sets in when you mature a little bit, right? I think that's one of the, the main things that a lot of people do when they go to college is they mature. They understand how to, manage money. They understand what it's like to live alone. So when reality sets in at graduation, a lot of people have that buyer's remorse and say, oh my God, I really wish somebody would have explained to me how to read an amortization calculator or to understand how much money I'm really going to be paying on this student loan. So that's sort of my side of the argument to say, I think the system is a little bit predatory on these students, particularly at 17 years old. I mean, your brain is very malleable at 17. You really just believe what anybody tells you. So, hey, Music Junkie, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Hang with Mark Mom is here. It says, hey Tom, TGIF concerning student loans. Money was flowing when the pandemic hit. People chose not to pay the rent and was given the green light to stop paying their student loans. Many could have paid. I'm sure many could have, for sure. I think that's another thing that contributed to this. Oh my God. Hold on. I always have to remember not to come to the south side of Penn Station. It's probably one of the most dirty areas of the city. But yeah, crazy, dirty, disgusting Penn Station. But I want to say hello to Billy Joel. I like this side of Madison Square Garden, minus the drugs, minus the homeless, minus the fentanyl, minus the smell, minus the garbage, minus, the gangs, minus, the crime, minus all that. Besides all of that, I kind of like how Madison Square Garden puts up all of these sort of murals of all the famous people who have played here. My favorite one in particular is Billy Joel. Madison Square Garden is the center of the universe as far as I'm concerned. And I would agree. Now, the good news is I was being a little bit, facetious there, being a little bit of a jerk, explaining Penn Station like that. But on the optimistic front, as we head down towards 7th Avenue, there's a lot of things to be optimistic about. This is the 2 Penn project, which is going to be a complete rip and replace of all of the old stuff at Penn Station. You can kind of see the insignia, the logos there, 2 Penn. It's going to be really nice. Class A office tower. I think there's going to be some residential condominiums and a brand new entrance to the Long Island Railroad, New Jersey Transit, and Amtrak. So over the next 5 years, thankfully, this neighborhood is really going to turn around. And I think that's exactly what the city needs. I think that's what Midtown Manhattan needs. As we've explained before, I'll quickly give just a glance of what the backside of Madison Square Garden looks like. This is where many of the players for the games, this is where they go in. But, many tourists who are coming from overseas, their first impression of New York City is oftentimes Penn Station, right? Because they're coming in through JFK, John F. Kennedy International Airport. They take the air train to Jamaica, and they take the Long Island Railroad from Jamaica to Penn Station, and they have not too good of a first impression. So the good news is this is all going to be ripped and replaced, which is great. Hey, Austin City Limits, what's up? Justin S. is not a student loan, but paid off my car this week. Whoa, that's awesome, dude. That's a huge accomplishment. You should be proud of yourself for that. It's such a sigh of relief when you finally, you could say you own something free and clear, and you don't have to worry about the interest accruing. It's like such a weight off your shoulders. So that's great news, man. I'm happy for you. That's fantastic. John is here from the Netherlands. Wow, John, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you're doing well in the Netherlands, and welcome to New York City. We are now on the corner of 7th Avenue, which is also nicknamed Fashion Avenue. And you can see all the construction workers working on the project that we were just talking about, which is the 2 Penn project. Now, speaking of fashion, it's New York City Fashion Week. I totally forgot about that. I was in Soho today, a little bit downtown in Lower Manhattan, and there was so much stuff going on for Fashion Week. There was photo shoots, there was events, there was so many people out and about. It was kind of cool. So maybe tomorrow night, if we have time, we will check out the Soho district of Manhattan. DC322 is here. What's up? Nick Hill says, what are your thoughts on the impact of Messi in America for soccer? I think it's going to be a great impact not only for the United States, but for the local economy in South Florida, in and around Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I think it's fantastic. I'm a huge soccer fan myself, and it's kind of wild to conceptualize what one person can do. I'll give you a quick example. I think prior to Messi's arrival to South Florida and Inter Miami, you could get a ticket to see a game for like $50, maybe even less. Now you can't get tickets to see an Inter Miami game for less than like $250. That's like a Rangers ticket. You know, Rangers, it's like $250 for the cheapest ticket at Madison Square Garden. So I think it's great. However, I will say this. I think we need to give David Beckham so much credit as a businessman. I mean, the guy is really unreal. Not only is he one of the best soccer players, or depending on where you're watching, football players, not only is he one of the greatest to ever play the game, talk about an amazing business move. Now, if you rewind all the way back to 2008, that is when David Beckham came to the United States to play in the MLS for the Los Angeles Galaxy. I'm sure many of you remember that. Now, in his contract, when he came to the US to play for the LA Galaxy, he had the option to purchase an MLS team for pennies, like dirt cheap. And he chose to purchase Inter Miami and start a soccer club there. And now, by signing Leo Messi, I mean, that's going to be, in the next couple of years, that is going to be a multi-billion-dollar franchise, Inter Miami. So David Beckham is essentially just minted himself a billionaire, probably a multi-billionaire over the next couple of years. So talk about an amazing business play by David Beckham. Crazy. Hey, Stephanie is here. What's up? Good to see you. Michael Joseph says MSG is the place for executives to hang out after work. Really? Wow. I wouldn't have expected that. Mike S. is sorry, soccer's too boring for me. Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, particularly in the United States. This is the demolition site where they took down the hotel. We showed this a couple times on the stream, but the old Pennsylvania Hotel is totally torn down now. And you have unobstructed views of One Vanderbilt and the Empire State Building. I see Steph UH, what's up? Silva's here, says what's up everybody. Tobias says, hey Tom, who was or is your favorite soccer team? Mine is Dortmund from Germany. I'm trying to think of, Christian Pulisic, I think, played for them for a brief time. I believe. I think. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. But I don't know. It's surprising. I don't really pay attention to soccer as much as I used to. I really don't. And I even played in college. I was a big soccer player. I loved it all my life. But I don't really pay attention to it too much anymore. I'm just too busy. But if I had to say, probably Manchester United or Napoli. I would always watch Napoli play when I was a teenager. I was working at this pizza shop, and Cavani was one of the best players for the team. I would always watch him. Now this is right as you come outside of the brand new Long Island Railroad entrance. And I think it'd be cool to actually take you guys down into the inside and see some of the renovations. This is the 2 Penn project. You'll notice the elevation of the ceiling heights. It's probably over 20-foot ceilings in there. So as you come out of the Long Island Railroad, you could also get the 123 AC and E train. And you see all of this new canopy and overhang here. This is going to be great once this is fully complete. So I'll take you down the escalator. And you can see all of the brand new renovations. I think I've taken you guys down here once before, maybe once or twice on the live stream. Hey Mitch, what's up? Since I was just here. What do you think about the renovations? Thumbs up, thumbs down? You could tell it's after Labor Day. Look at all the people here. We'll see how far we can go until we start buffering, but for some context here, if you look where the tracks are on the Long Island Railroad, this is how high the ceiling heights were for the entire station. Can you imagine that? Imagine this entire thing being that height. And now, look what they've done. I think they did a fantastic job. I give this a 10 out of 10. Lets a lot more natural airflow in here as well. The air quality is probably much, much better here. Hey, Jafet Perez says, I like it when you walk 1st Street to 42nd Street times. More interesting features as you head back up the escalator. If you look very closely at the glass ceiling, check that out. You have an unobstructed view of the spire of the Empire State Building. So as you're emerging from the underworld, you come into the Empire State Building. Hey, Teresa Diaz, what's up? Carr says, when is this going to be completed? Well, I'm not too sure. If I had to make a guess, I would say sometime in 2025, it'll probably be fully completed. That would be my guess. But as I've said before, Midtown Manhattan really needs this because Penn Station doesn't have the best reputation now. And I think it's going to improve significantly once all of these renovations are complete. So it's good news. It's definitely good news. Hey, Meep, it's good to see you. Long time no see. Hopefully your summer's gone well. Stephanie's like, where are all these people going? It's 10 o'clock at night. Well, it's New York. It's the city that never sleeps. And as we've talked about, it's after Labor Day now. So that means there's going to be even more people in the city because colleges are back in session, people are back to work. So the city's going to fill up again. And then before you know it, it's going to be the holidays yet again. So we're now standing on the corner of 34th Street and 7th Avenue. You have the main flagship Macy's right in front of us. And then you have the Empire State Building directly ahead. Hey, Melissa 2087, good to see you. Just the guy says, I hope they renovate the Port Authority bus terminal. Yeah, you and me both. I think that's probably actually the first location that they should probably renovate, next to Penn Station. If the city does that or ever gets around to doing a total revamp of Port Authority, I think property values in and around 42nd Street are going to explode, because Port Authority is, let's just say, not the best. We'll leave it at that. Hey, Hawaii is here. What's up? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Karen Hope says, hello, Tom. New subscriber here. What are your thoughts regarding the migrant incoming situation in New York City? Well, it's a good question. We've talked about this at length. We've dedicated entire streams to this. But I just think, in general, I think it's a massive stress and a massive strain on the infrastructure of our city, and it's going to have significant financial ramifications. Mayor Eric Adams recently spoke at an event, I believe it was at City Hall, and by 2025, it's projected the city's deficit's going to be $12 billion. And this comes at a time where our expenses as a city are going up. Think about the subway. The MTA is now really cracking down really hard, and I'm starting to see it too. I mean, there's cops in every single subway literally guarding the turnstiles because there's been so much fare evasion. So you have deficits at the MTA, you have costs increasing, and now you have, I believe it's over 110,000 migrants that have arrived to the city, according to Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams. As of 2 days ago, the city is actually expecting another 50,000 over the next 6 to 12 months. The biggest problem I see with that is thinking about the deficit, about 12 billion by 2025. Well, that means necessary services in and around the city are going to be cut. And the mayor has said this. It's not like I'm speculating on this. It's the mayor has said this. So that means the trains are not going to run as often. That means the libraries are probably going to get cut. Funding for schools are going to get cut. Every single, sort of city thing, sanitation, FD&Y, all that funding needs to be cut to sort of make up for that deficit. So I think it's a big issue. And I think the federal government needs to step in. But yeah, that's what I think. Hey, G Fresh, what's up? Good to see you. Jay is here from Ohio. It actually feels really nice out tonight. The temperatures dropped significantly. It's a beautiful night. Hey, Jay Grant says, Tom, thank you so much for the latest walk around Central Park. So beautiful. Yeah, I'm really glad you guys enjoy that. So what we've been doing is about 6:40 p.m. every night, we've been uploading a standalone walking tour of a specific neighborhood, but during the day. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying them. I have a lot of fun filming them. I try to point out, some of the best hot spots in each particular neighborhood, such as the Upper West Side, Soho. Tonight I uploaded one of Little Italy and Chinatown. There's just so many cool things to do in the city and take advantage of. So hopefully doing a good job of highlighting that. Well, we are now at Herald Square. This is one of the busiest intersections of all of New York City, but a little bit of fun fact or trivia, the busiest intersection in all of New York City is actually not in Manhattan. It's not on the island of Manhattan. It's in Queens, and it's right at Flushing Main Street. Not a lot of people know that, but it's true. That is the busiest, most trafficked intersection in New York City. Flushing Main Street. We'll cross to the north, we'll wait for the light, and then we'll head down to Koreatown. Hey John, what's up? Says, yo Tom, what's up with Real? I have no idea, I don't know, I'm not too familiar with that. Hey, Smee Media, this is the time for the San Gennaro's Feast. I believe that's in a week. That's another fun thing to look forward to, is the San Gennaro's Feast. We are definitely going to be down there in Little Italy covering that. Last year was a lot of fun. It's fun every single year. For those of you who don't know, it's a big Italian festival that takes place in New York City's Little Italy. So there's all local restaurants, there's all local bakeries that sort of set up outdoor dining, I don't know, structures, like food, they cook food in the street. It's an amazing experience. And I think that's coming up in about a week now, San Gennaro's Feast. So I'm excited about it. Hey, L the Original, what's up? Now, speaking of New York City, we do have some updated real estate data that I would like to cover with you. Now, towards the first of every month, I would say the first week of every month, we get the average and the median rents for Manhattan for the previous month. Now, last month in Manhattan, average rents in New York City reached just shy of $6,000 a month. Think about that. But the good news is rents are starting to come down a little bit. So the data for August is as follows. The average rent on the island of Manhattan is $5,742, with the median rent in Manhattan being $4,401. So rents have come down a little bit. Still really crazy dollars. It's kind of mind-blowing, but the city is very, very expensive. Now, if I had to make a prediction, and we've talked about this before, my prediction is that rents will continue to come down. The rental market will continue to ease, not only in New York City, but across the United States, and there's going to be a little bit of relief. That's sort of my view. And the reason for this is we are in a completely different interest rate environment than we were just 18 months ago. And real estate is the asset class that lags the most, right? So when interest rates go up, equities are usually repriced the fastest because there's more liquidity there, right? You could log on to your Interactive Brokers or Charles Schwab account literally from your phone and sell $2 million worth of Apple stock, and it executes instantly, right? You can't really say that the same thing about real estate. And it's a more emotional sale, right? It's a tug of war between buyers and sellers. There's a lot of different moving parts. About 80% of all Americans who have a mortgage outstanding have interest rates of that below 5%. So a lot of people are just not listing their homes on the market, but we're at sort of like a stalemate, right? We've been following the National Association of Realtors for their existing home sales. We've been following the National Association of Home Builders in their new home sales, and it's really been grinding to a halt. So if sellers want to get deals done, prices are going to need to adjust to satiate the reasonable demand for the buyer, and I think that's at lower valuations, and we're starting to see that, which is good. So all good news on that front, which means transaction volumes are going to pick up again. Hey, Mike S. Tom, I love my 2% mortgage. Wow. 2%. I mean, think about that. I'm sure you're probably not going to be thinking about selling anytime soon with that. Krog Dog says, Tom, high rents in New York City means tenants are moving out to suburban New Jersey, which is good for landlords like me. Oh, that's cool. Krog Dog, I didn't know that you own property in New Jersey. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing New Yorkers escape the city for lower rents in New Jersey. Interesting. Hang with Mark Mom says my mortgage rate is at a lovely 2.3%. Oh my God. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm sure you'll be holding on to that for quite some time. Joel PM says you can't ignore the fact Airbnb depletes long-term rental inventory and pushes prices up for everyone. Now, Joel PM, that's a really good comment, and I actually think we should take some time to explore that a little bit. I think this is an event for New York City Fashion Week. So as we talked about before, it is Fashion Week in New York, but the majority of the events are downtown near Soho, but it looks like there's some sort of event going on here. Now, we spoke about the new ruling for Airbnb in New York, and there's some people out there that think this is going to push a huge wave of demand onto the marketplace because sellers will choose to sell their properties because they were using Airbnb as a way to cover the mortgage. I actually disagree with that. I disagree with that for New York City, and I'll tell you why. New York City is a very different and interesting place where that kind of stuff really doesn't apply here because the average sales price is just so high. So chances are, if you were buying a 2-bedroom apartment in New York City for $2.5 million, there's almost 100% certainty, I'll say like a 90% certainty, that you are not relying on your Airbnb income to pay that mortgage, right? And over the last 6 months in New York City, the vast majority of sales transactions have actually been all cash. So it is a completely different real estate market in New York City. You can't really compare it to anywhere else. Now, in other parts of the country, yeah, there has been some extreme irrational exuberance as it relates to Airbnb real estate. You had investors purchasing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes just to put them up on Airbnb and try to make money. That really doesn't happen here. Very, very seldom. Chances are, if you can afford and get approved to buy a $2.5 million property in Manhattan, or even more, you're probably not relying on Airbnb income to stabilize, or I should say satiate, and commit to your mortgage payments. That's just my take on the situation for New York City. I mean, other cities, if they enact this law, it could potentially be very bad. So, J49 says old money in New York City, or it's new startup money. There's definitely a lot of old money in New York. That is true. Jay Grant says New York City looks so alive and well. It does. It's packed tonight. Very busy. Tons of traffic going up 6th Avenue too. Lots of traffic. Cars, is there any part of New York City that is affordable for the average person? How do non-wealthy people afford to live there? Well, I think it's important to understand that New York City is a very, very big place. For people that are not from New York City, when they hear the term New York City, what do they think of? Well, they think of this right here. They think of Manhattan. But there's other boroughs. There's the Bronx, there's Queens, there's Staten Island, there's Brooklyn. And as you venture out into the boroughs, you can get rents that are not going to be $5,000. And plus, many people that live in New York City live with roommates. So it's not uncommon for somebody to rent, let's say, a 3-bedroom apartment and every roommate pays like $1,500. That is very common in New York. That may not be common in other cities across the United States. So I would say it's a mix. Number one is they find cheaper rents in the outer boroughs like Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island. And number two, they live with roommates. So, I mean, put it this way, I lived with roommates for a long time, right? For years, like almost 8 years, during college and after college. It's a good way to save money in the city. And everybody does it. Austin City Limits, what's up? Thanks for joining us. TD Purcell. Good to see you. There must be something going on uptown. Maybe there's a lot of events for New York City Fashion Week, because this is jam-packed traffic tonight. Usually there's not this much traffic near Bryant Park. Hey, Wee says, what do you think about New York City being very slowly sinking from the skyscrapers? I don't really have any thoughts on that, to be fully transparent, to be fully honest. I don't even know if that's true. I'm not too sure. And if it is true, let's just assume it is true. There's nothing I could do about it, so I very seldom think about it. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna do something to fix it. It just is what it is. I think the same thing is happening in San Francisco to the Millennium Tower. I believe in engineers, I believe in engineering, and there's a lot of smart people that live in the United States, a lot smarter than me, that are engineers that make a lot of money that'll figure the problem out. That's what I think. Hey, John, this is Tom. I lived in Brooklyn for 20 years, and buying a house in New Jersey was still cheaper. Wow. What part of New Jersey? Because, you know, New Jersey is very expensive too. I think the appeal of New Jersey is that it has some of the best public schools in the nation, I believe. Some particular parts of New Jersey has the top of the line education. I think that's some of the appeal there. Oh, John says Plainfield, New Jersey, very nice. The only times I've really been to Jersey is near William Patterson University. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but back during my college days, we would always travel to William Patterson and we would play their college, which was an amazing campus, by the way. That place is pristine, it's clean, it's out in the wilderness, it's an amazing place. I actually really enjoyed my time there. Now we are looking at the beautiful One Vanderbilt. We are standing on the corner of West 40th Street and 6th Avenue. This is Bryant Park. That was kind of cool. And you can see just a little bit of a piece of the Empire State Building here. Oh wow, Smee Media says, Tom, I had a relative that worked at William Patterson University. It's a nice campus. It was a big shock for me, right? Because if anybody's familiar with the CUNY system, City University in New York, we don't really have campuses here. It's just a big skyscraper. So you go to college, you walk into the building and you click the floor on the elevator, and you go to your class and then you just go home. It's not really like a campus per se. Hey, Ricardo 305. Good to see you, sir. He says, but if you mean today, Tom, Miami is the most expensive city so far. Yeah, let me tell you, Miami is not that much less expensive than New York City. And it's kind of funny, right? Because they've nicknamed Miami the 6th borough of New York City. Whenever I'm down in Miami, Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, there's always New Yorkers down there. Many people are snowbirds. If you're not familiar with the term snowbird, essentially it's New Yorkers that spend the spring and the summer and the fall in New York, and then they spend the winter down in South Florida. So it's very common. And the pandemic, I mean, Ricardo, to your point, the pandemic really pushed up property values in South Florida. So you really can't even get any rent relief down there. It's wild. Anyone in the chat besides Ricardo from the Miami-Dade sort of county area? Maybe you could provide some additional context on rent and stuff like that. Hey, Beacon, New York, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Rada says City College in Harlem has great architecture. City College in New York is fantastic. I love that campus. For anybody who's unfamiliar with it, just go to Google Images and type in City College in New York. The architecture, as our fellow chatter has said, is really breathtaking. It has all of this white trim around the moldings of the buildings. It's fantastic. I applied to City College, I think. I don't think I got in. Great school. Hey, Soho Joe is here. What's up? This is the picnic performances at Bryant Park. It looks like there was something big going on. Look at everybody taking down these tents. Oh, it was Tai Chi, it says. Oh no, this is outdated. This is August. Let's see what it was. Might as well, since we're here. Maybe there was some big concert going on. Hey, Sarah, this is Tom. You mentioned Miami. Are you moving there? Will you be covering that area? Yeah, I live there. I own property in Miami, and I just haven't been spending much time there because I've been put on some very big projects here in New York for work. But we do live streams from Brickell and downtown Miami all the time. Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be back down in the 305 walking around Brickell, Mary Brickell Village, and the like. So yeah, I love it. I love it down there. I love the hot sun. I love the beach. My fingers are just crossed. Hopefully we don't get hit by that Hurricane Lee. Please God. I don't think so. I was looking at the spaghetti maps, as they call them, and it doesn't look like Hurricane Lee is going to hit the United States. It just may bring a lot of storm surge and very rough surf to the East Coast. But then again, hurricanes are very unpredictable, and we don't know. Hey, Michael Joseph says CUNY is great. You can take classes at any CUNY and use a library card with your CUNY ID. Mel says no more heat. We had our last 100 degree day here in Dallas. It's been crazy hot here in New York too. It finally just broke today. Check this out. This is the Bryant Park lawn. It looks like all of the staff are taking down the tables and chairs from the event. Maybe there was some sort of concert here. It looks really nice. You have this beautiful shot of Bank of America Tower and Salesforce Tower. Looks fantastic here. Now, if you're all enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We tend to do these streams about 7 days a week. We try to start at 8:30 p.m. Hey, Shan says there was an orchestra playing yesterday at Bryant Park. That would have been amazing to see. You know, if we ever get up to Lincoln Center again, they always do, during the summer at least, they do these outdoor opera showings, which are really nice. I think they may have done the last one for the season though. Pretty soon, before you know it, where we're standing right now is going to be closed off, and they're going to build the Winter Village at Bryant Park. So right where you see the lawn, I'll sort of turn the camera over there in a minute, but right where you see the Great Lawn, during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that, this is actually an ice skating rink. There's like a big winter village. People are ice skating, having a good time. There's vendors selling things. It's kind of nice.